What Happened on Saltwell Hill is brought to you by Rapid Answers. On January 7th, 1949, 30-year-old Tommy Vanderveer was seen walking up Saltwell Hill towards the home he and his family were living in at the time. This was the last time anyone ever saw Tommy, his 44-year-old wife Beatrice, or her 17-year-old daughter Wanda. What happened to the family of three? Well, that remains a mystery even now, 70 years later. In this podcast, we'll explore the events surrounding the story, the people involved, and what the community, families, and public opinion believes happened on Saltwell Hill.
What Happened on Saltwell Hill is written by Roger Hunter. Co-hosted by Garrett Altmeyer. Original music by Luke Miller. Produced by Lake Shack Productions. And now welcome to What Happened on Saltwell Hill.
This is Roger Hunter, your host and storyteller, and welcome to episode 6. If you've kept up with us to this point, you're likely going to notice some changes. We're actually going back and re-recording the first 5 episodes. If you listen to us on one of the audio platforms, check us out on YouTube for the full experience. I do want to apologize for this episode taking so long to produce. We're obviously going through some changes and remodeling over here, and preparing for our next adventure.
Stay tuned for the next adventure.
Oh, that's Garrett. I would like to officially introduce Garrett to you. Garrett grew up with my son, and he's recently joined us here on Saltwell Hill.
Hello, my name is Garrett Altmeyer. I met Roger Hunter whenever I was around in 3rd grade. Him and his son were buddies, and I had a knack for acting, so I went to New York City for that. And now I'm doing a podcast with Logan's dad, Roger Hunter.
In this episode, we'll be taking you through some of the outside factors that I believe need to be considered. Don't worry, we're not going to leave Messmore floating on the river for too long. We will at least get him out of the boat in this episode, but we do have a couple more episodes planned, and we'll be releasing our next podcast, stay tuned, in early 2024. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Bill Messmore, a confessed bank robber, is in a skiff, using a spade as an oar, paddling up the Ohio River, let's see, in the middle of the night. Oh, and in March.
That'd be pretty cold in March.
Now, there are still a couple things that I think you might want to go back and take a look at. You see, during all this commotion and lie detector testing and confessing and escaping, what do you think's happening on Saltwell Hill? Well, it's been pretty active. Many reports say that people had been coming to Mifflin in droves. I've even heard that there were bus tours bringing people out to Saltwell Hill, literally, by the busload. Now, this area may be in the middle of the Hoosier National Forest today, but then it was a thriving farming community. It was all private land. There were a half dozen farms out there with crops and livestock. Almost anything of value that was left by Messmore got carried off. The land at the top of Saltwell Hill was dotted with small holes where people had dug, looking for buried treasure. Bill Messmore had become quite the celebrity. Many people believed that Bill was part of some gang that had robbed banks all over the Midwest. They believe he had buried all kinds of bank loot there on his farm, or maybe in one of those bottomless pits there.
Well, me and Silas Metz that lives up here, we was over there one day. We got all enthused and we was gonna, there's a whole bunch of loose rock. We worked for hours and hours with shovels and picks and bars, and we finally got down to the ground and we didn't find nothing. but there's a good sized hole back there. That's where I can show you where hole it's at. But he said, Silas said, I'm going to go down in there, Gerald. I said, go ahead, but I'm not going. So he's gone and gone and gone and gone. Finally, his wife's name is Mary. I thought, what am I going to tell Mary? That he's disappeared. Finally, I saw his hand go up in there like he's shouting. I hollered, I said, Silas, you all right? He said, yeah, if I can get my so-and-so body out of here, I'm fine. He got out, and I said, what'd you find down there? He said, there's a good-sized room I was in. And he said, you crawl on back, you can look. He said, you could get under it. There's a ledge there. You could get under it, and there's a good big room back in there. He said, I couldn't get under it. I'm too big. And I said, well, I could, but I'm not going to. I never go down in there.
Now, I guess you could say that every inch of that property had been searched. And as far as we know, no one ever found any money. But some things were found. What Happened on Saltwell Hill is written, hosted, produced, and sponsored by me, Roger Hunter. I put together this podcast to bring some attention to the Vanderveer story, but putting together a startup podcast takes time and has expenses, and, well, it doesn't pay very good. My day job is providing life insurance for families across the United States. If you'd like to see what coverage options are for you to protect your family and help support the podcast in doing so, please go to my website at www.rapidanswers.life and complete the questionnaire to get your free, no obligation life insurance quote. That's www.rapidanswers.life.
He had actually taken that linoleum out. Me and my dad and my cousin and my uncle, I think it's on the last time, he was down here on a Wednesday, West Messmore was, and talked to Dad and just begged him to go home with him. And Dad wouldn't go. So on Sunday, Dad's all down here, and after lunch, Dad said, let's walk up there and see what we can see. We walked up there, and I told him about the wheelbarrow. He'd showed me the wheelbarrow he was fixing. He had a great big steel wheel he'd made, and he'd made the bed for it, and he was really proud of what he'd done. And he had taken that wheelbarrow, and he had hauled something out of the house and down to the top of that cliff and shoved it over. You can see where something had gone over.
Over the arch.
Yes.
Over by the arch. Okay.
Right, no, just right there. Yeah, right by the arch.
Because where the house was,
Yeah.
the arch is basically
Yeah.
right in front of it. Yeah.
Right up. And then he'd taken the wheelbarrow downstairs or down there, and whatever he'd shoved over the hill, he had hauled it out there. And there used to be two rocks there, and there's a lot of, it's filled in now, but there's a lot of space there. And he'd had a big fire under that. And we always thought that and they found parts of the old overshoes with the buckles and what have you. And they thought they was bones, but they claimed they was burned so bad they couldn't tell whether they was human or whatever. But me and my dad always thought that they burned them there. But anyway, the linoleum, he'd taken out of his house, and he had burned it right there before the arch, where he'd shoved something over the arch. You could see the remains of where he'd burned it in the road.
I've
In the
heard
house.
stories that somebody saw blood somewhere in the house right after this supposedly happened. Do you know?
Bob and some of her writings said that they found blood in the house. Yes.
Well, as I'm sure you can imagine, the community had grown pretty tired of all the traffic on top of Saltwell Hill. And they tried to block people from going to the property. There were reportedly several altercations between landowners and treasure seekers. Then someone took matters into their own hands. A small fire broke out in the house on Saltwell Hill and burned it to the ground, along with two other small structures that were on the property. This made 8 structure fires that had happened in this community in the 12 months leading up to this. There would be one more later that year. Doshi, you remember Doshi, Bill's mother? Well, she filed an insurance claim for the fire and took it all the way to court. but the claim was denied because the home on Saltwell Hill had not been occupied as a primary residence for over 60 days prior to the fire. Local landowner Harold King would be charged and convicted of burning an outbuilding on Saltwell Hill, but though he was suspected of setting other fires, no evidence ever proved that he had anything to do with them. I spoke in confidence with a surviving relative of King, and they told me that Howard always maintained that he did not set any fires, not even the one on Saltwell Hill. King owned a large amount of land that eventually became part of the Hoosier National Forest. While much of it wasn't suitable for farming, the pristine cliffs and waterfalls drew a lot of attention, and King felt this would be an amazing place for the Hoosier State to put a national park. He was a huge advocate for the development of a national park based in Crawford County, Indiana, and the only thing that was keeping that wish from happening was the acquisition of more land. His land would eventually become part of the Hoosier National Forest, but not the land on top of Saltwell Hill. Bill deeded his property over to his mother, Doshi. Eventually it was passed to his brother, James, and eventually even found its way back into Bill Messmore's name. Even today, the 20 acres on Saltwell Hill are still privately held, now in a land trust, including the largest natural arch and some of the most amazing cliffs in the entire state of Indiana. Rumors are that Messmore wished that the land on Saltwell Hill never be given to the U.S. Forest Service, but that can't be confirmed. We would like to do everything we can with the power of this podcast to protect Arrowhead Arch, Saltwell Hill, and Messmore Cliffs. And we believe a proper analysis of possible outcomes should be explored. This amazing geological feature, Arrowhead Arch, is on private property. If you go there, you are trespassing. This is not DNR managed land. And if you get hurt climbing around on the cliffs or exploring the area, you'll likely get charges filed against you. Significant destruction is apparent at the arch, and the area is often visited illegally by people in off-road vehicles. While the DNR has been known to cite people visiting the arch with trespassing, it's impossible for them to patrol the area. Until a resolution that will protect the arch is reached, I am asking everyone to stay away from the arch. We will never tell you how to get there. And if you already know, please keep it a secret. Maybe someday this area can be made available to the public in a safe and environmentally responsible way. Now, something else was going on around this time that might have been overlooked by officers investigating the disappearance of the Vandeveers. Elizabeth Beatrice Fisher, also known as Lizzie and B, married Virgil Basil Johnson in 1928. They had 4 children. She filed for divorce from Virgil Basil Johnson in the summer of 1947 over in nearby DuBois County. A year later, she married Tommy Vandeveer. Court records indicate that Beatrice appeared in court in Jasper, Indiana on January 4th, 1949. That's just 3 days before her disappearance. And she dismissed the divorce proceedings. That would mean she was still legally married to Johnson in August of 1948 when she married Tommy Vandeveer, and when she disappeared. Now, I'm not sure at all what this means, maybe nothing, but I had to follow that thread as far as I could. Beatrice and Virgil had 3 children in addition to Wanda. When Beatrice moved to Crawford County, Wanda came with her. The 3 boys stayed in DuBois County with their father. Virgil had a history of public drunkenness and spent some time in jail. After the disappearance of Bea and Wanda, he ended up putting the boys in foster care. In July of 1950, he would end up in jail for failure to pay child support. There isn't a lot more information about Virgil Basil Johnson that I've been able to find. The boys were Donald R. Johnson, who passed away in 2008, and Norman Johnson and Kenny Johnson, both of whom passed away before Donald did. Now, I personally know several Johnsons in Du Bois County, but none of them know of Virgil Basil Johnson. I would be interested in hearing from grandchildren or great-grandchildren or anyone who just may remember him. Now, I spoke with an investigator at the Jasper, Indiana State Police Post about this case. I've mentioned that before. I'm not going to bring up his name because it really doesn't matter. This case is still considered an open or unsolved case. And under the law, there's no way they can give me access to the case. Understand completely. Even though most certainly everyone who was involved in this, in what happened on Saltwell Hill, has long since died. He did look through the case file and he allowed me to ask him a few questions. And according to him, there's never any mention of her first husband by name. The only reference he found in the file was that she had been married to a Huntingburg man who she divorced the previous year. I know that Virgil passed away in December of 1980, and he appears to have reunited with his children in his older years. If you knew Virgil Basil Johnson, please reach out to me by email at whathappened@saltwellhill.com. I would love to know more about him. Okay, so where were we? Oh, that's right. In a skiff, paddling upstream. Yeah, Messmore paddled about a mile, then crossed over to the Kentucky side of the river, while at that point, police had stationed people on both sides of the river looking for any sign of him. Problem was, he was over a mile upstream from where they were searching. As dawn approached, he pulled the skiff up on the shore outside of Brandenburg, Kentucky, and he started walking towards town. Just then, a farmer, Charles Cole, came riding up the road, and he stopped and asked the stranger walking up the road carrying a shovel at the literal crack of dawn in the middle of nowhere if he was looking for something. Messmore told the gentleman he'd really like to have some eggs and asked if he knew anywhere he could get some. He welcomed him on the back of his truck, and they headed towards a diner on Main Street in Brandenburg. Messmore took a seat in the back room of the diner. Incidentally, Sheriff Deputy J.C. Powers was also in the diner that morning. Powers spotted Messmore and was pretty sure he knew who he was. He walked over to him and simply said, "Good morning, Mr. Messmore. How about you come on a ride with me down to the station?" Messmore responded, "Can I finish my eggs first?" I'm going to leave him right there until the next episode, where we will find out what happens to Bill Messmore when we get together again to find out what happened on Saltwell Hill. Hope you enjoyed episode 6, Can I Finish My Eggs? And episode 7 is coming. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even know what the title's going to be. But I will give you a little preview of what to expect.
Are you ready to take charge of your future and provide peace of mind for your loved ones? Look no further. Welcome to Rapid Answers Life Insurance, your trusted partner in safeguarding what matters most. At Rapid Answers Life Insurance, we're committed to helping you make the best decisions for your future. We pride ourselves on transparency, simplicity, and unparalleled customer service. With us, you're not just a policyholder, you're part of the Rapid Answers family. Your dreams are worth protecting, and we're here to make it easy. Rapid Answers Life Insurance, your pathway to a secure and worry-free tomorrow. Don't wait another moment to secure your loved one's future. Visit our website at www.rapidanswers.life to get your free, no-obligation quote Experience the ease of securing your tomorrow with Rapid Answers Life Insurance. Again, that's www.rapidAnswers.life.
This article is from the Courier Journal from Louisville, Kentucky, March 11th, 1983. The headline states, "Bones May Help Solve Mystery of Family That Vanished in 1949," by Linda Stahl, Courier Journal staff writer. The article goes, Mifflin, Indiana. Crawford County Sheriff Estill Pete Eastridge drove to Indiana University yesterday with bags of human bones recently found in the Craggy Hill country near Mifflin. The bones will be examined by university experts in April. Officials wonder whether the skeletal remains found by teenagers digging for Indian relics will turn out to be a link with an ancient Indian culture or clues in a 20th century criminal investigation that has stumped Indiana law enforcement authorities for 34 years. The bones were found buried beneath a rock arch in a wooded area 500 feet from a farm where the Tom Vandiver family lived before vanishing in January 1949. Back to you, Roger.
Okay, well, thanks, Garrett. Looks like we still got more story to tell. See you in episode 7.